I'm Sean, welcome to the layout, and this is the May 2025 layout update. Lots been happening on the layout. On the fourth baseboard, I've had to adjust the baseboard height in slightly because where the track goes along the top, where it had to meet the track at the bottom, the height from that track to that track was too high. So I've then had to make this other baseboard that rests on softwood timber. That's the same height as this bit here, and basically it halves the height of the track going from the top to the bottom. Now the added advantage to doing this, other than allowing the trains to go down to the next level easier, is that there's all this space at the bottom that I'm planning on using as storage tracks underneath. This ain't actually attached yet. All this can come out so I can then do the tracks underneath. But at the moment I'm just working on all the scenery on the top and the track work. Now my plan for the track work, these are the two main running lines. So these are the tracks where the trains will be run along the layout. But the line going off in this distance there is sort of like an unkept goods line to, possibly some industries, because I said in previous videos that I've had a lot of the country bit, but now I want to kind of transition from the country to more industrial setting. Now on this baseboard, due to the size, you can't really fit a lot of industry on there. There's a few places that I'm going to have some industry. For example, just around the back there, I'm gonna try and get some like half relief buildings. I'll probably go for some Metcalf half relief factories just to go along that back section there. So it looks like it's some going into some industries, but I can't really fit much at the front, and I don't really want to block the view of the main line. So what I have done is you got the goods line that disappears round with the very unkept look, and over here is going to be the Hornby goods shed, if I've got the measurements right, and just the other side of that I'm going to make a cattle dock. So basically this track will share the goods shed and the cattle dock, and there'll be a track here which will be embedded in, it'll be embedded into like a concourse, into the road. So it'll be embedded track there. And the idea of this being that when a freight train comes in, the wagons can be shunted into this bit and then sorted out and then put into the goods shed and the cattle dock area. And the rest of the train, now I've done this as a bit of play value to the layout and a bit of a shunting sequence to the layout, but basically there'll be a point where both the running lines will be set to stop on the signals, so no trains will go that way, no trains will go that way. And basically the shunting train, shunt some wagons out down this track, and then down the switch track there, and then pull forward, and then reverse back up the goods line to a hidden siding, which will be under the third baseboard. Now this goods line, I'm planning on having the goods line run underneath the boards like the main line, and then just linking up, because by doing that I can then use this line as almost like a diverging route for slow freight trains. So they'll come along this track. Well, they'll come from there and then off into the loop up to the next section. Okay, right, we're just going to have a closer look at this section now. So bear with me while repositioning the camera. We're going to have a close look at the unkept goods line now. So just zoom in. So we've got an abutment there, which will be for a bridge that I'll show you in a minute, and then you've got a road that goes next to it over a crossing that'll be there. Now that'll be the crossing leading into the yard with the goods shed and the cattle dock. Now the space there, I'm going to be putting a signal box there, but I'm trying to look for another alternative to the Pico one, because I already have the Pico one on the second baseboard. But if I have to go for the Pico one again, then I'll just put the Pico one in. Now over in this space, now I'm not sure whether I measured out right, but if I haven't, it's not a problem. But I'm working on putting the Hornby water tower there. The brick tower with the bit on top. I'm planning on putting that there, but I've just measured out roughly from the measurements I got on Amazon, and it comes to roughly that shape. Now I've also tried to do a path, so if I've marked it out right, the path should roughly be in line with the steps to the signal box, and this path leads up to where the water tower is. Now as you can see with this goods track, this goods loop is very purposely given the unkept look. So basically what I've done was I painted all the tracks, all the sides of the rails, and for that I've used Humbrol and Animal Matte 82. And I've used this for all the side rails on my track, so it's just the side rail bits. For the sleepers itself, I used ready mixed Hobbycraft acrylic paint. That's what I use for the sleepers. And then what I've done after that, when the sleepers were dry, I just dry brushed some white just on top, and basically the dry brushing of the white paint brings out some of the wood grain, in the sleepers. I don't know if you can, I'll tilt the camera slightly. I don't know if you can see it, but you get some of the wood grain showing through in the sleepers, but I'm not sure how well you can see it then. But yeah, that's how I painted my track, and then I ballasted the track for the goods line. Now it's not the ballast I'd normally use. I used a different ballast, and for that track I used Knock granite ballast. Yeah, and the reason why I use this ballast is because if you have a look at it, let's see if I can get the bag open. If you look at it, it's like it's all different colours. Well, it's all different shades of grey, as you can see. Now, the reason why I wanted that is because with most of these sort of like goods lines where they go to businesses, then you know they're not as well kept, not as well maintained as the main line. I mean, you know, in theory they don't really need to be, because they don't have that much traffic, and the traffic that's going on there will be just goods trains, so they won't put as much money into maintaining those tracks as they would with the main lines that are carrying passengers, you know, and most of the running trains. So that when it comes to like ballast, they'll just use whatever's available, you know, from all different places. Like when they do their engineering works, they have ballast left over, it'll be used for these sort of lines, you know, just to make do with what they got. I've tried to make a bit of an example of that here. I've just got a pile of the ballast there, so it's like leftover ballast, and they've just literally dropped it there. I'm also going to add a few bits of rail here and stuff like that, along with some sleepers, you know, so it's just like a bit of a place where they've just stored the odd bits. Now, what I've done after the glue was all dried, well, all the ballast was dried, painted the edges with all this bit here with brown acrylic. Camera's going a bit. But yeah, I painted a ground acrylic base, and then I used some Specialist Aggregates brand new universal cover over the top of that, and then I used some green fine turf woodland scenics scatter over the top of that, and then I added static grass over the top of that, you know, some green and some yellow, more yellow than green, because I wanted to try and simulate, you know, a bit of living grass but mostly dead grass, because there's a bridge that will go over this that I will show you now. I've only just started this bridge the other day, you know, just done the main base. Still got a few bits to work out how they're going to go. Basically what I'm thinking is sort of like goes up, then arches over, and then down. It's almost like, Waterloo train station opposite, you've got the other railway line opposite, and there's like a bridge that goes over, over a major road junction, and that's the kind of bridge I want to model. Something similar to that for this bit. I think it'll look pretty good. With that sort of bridge there. So just imagine trains going across there, at the same time train going across there. It'll look pretty good. Right, so just going to talk about the abutments now. So if I'll just take that away, this wood, it came from wicks. It's just some thin strips of wood. I try to get most of my stuff from DIY shops. Right, so that was glued on well. Okay, right, and all that bit. Right, we'll look at this one. I haven't glued these down yet, but this is one of the abutments. Now there's several layers to this. Now what I'm using to make this, I'm using this foam brickwork that is from Fowler, and this is N-gauge stonework, but it still works well with TT. Now there's a lot of things I had to do to get this to this. Now basically what I've done was I painted a coat of varnish. Before I've done any painting to the section, I've covered it with a layer of varnish, and what that basically does is, like, currently the material will soak up the paint, so it'd be like it's almost hadn't been painted. But if I sealed that with varnish, then the paint will stick to the varnish. The varnish won't soak through the material. So I've done a layer of varnish, wait for that to dry, and then a layer of light grey acrylic paint, similar sort of tone to what I mixed up there. Now that is grey acrylic mixed with white acrylic. Now I try to make it a really light grey but not too light. But then I painted that on, left that to dry, and then I've done another layer of varnish to seal in that grey colour. Then once that had dried and that had sealed, I then spotted different colours with, like, I spotted different bricks with some yellow acrylic and some of the brown acrylic again. And basically what I've done is just done spots in different bits. I don't know if you can see that there. Just done little spots. So then after I've done that, basically you end up with something like that. Once you've done that, that's a bit of retaining wall that I'm working on, but we'll go through that in a minute. But once you've done that, then do another coat of varnish, and then what you do once the varnish is dried, what I've done here is I've used a cocktail stick and some white paint. I've just picked out little bits where mineral and salts are coming out of the brickwork, where the minerals and the brickwork get wet, and then it brings out some of the mineral and the salt, and it shows up in white in the brickwork. That's what I try simulating there. But I've also dry brushed some green acrylic onto this as well in places. Now, what I've done, I started, when I was doing the dry brushing, I started at the bottom, because you think that's where things will start growing up and the moss will start growing up. I've also started, done a little bit on the top. So like, where it's leaking off the bridge, where water's leaking off the bridge is creating moss. And then I've just done a general sweep of some of the areas with the dry brush and acrylic, or all along that bit. And then once that was dry, I then sealed again with some varnish, and then left it dry. And after the varnish was dry, I gave it a dark wash and left that overnight, and this is what happens. So this is one of the bridge abutments. I'll go under there. So where that other retaining wall is, just zoom in. Anyway. Yeah, so the other bit of brickwork, the retaining wall, be going here, and it's held up by matches at the moment. But basically what will happen is that it will gradually go up to meet this one. Now the reason why I'm doing it this way is because all this will be landform. Didn't want to do a full like retaining wall. I decided just to do a landfall, some shrubs and trees. Just think that would look a bit nicer. Should go over to this side. Excuse the noise. Right, so we've got the road that comes around. Now, this is half of the card tubing that held the cork underlay on. The cork underlay wrapped around this, and I just basically cut it in half. And my plan is to maybe have that in there, and then like another road what goes underneath there to some other industry. So it's almost like the railway line has worked around the road, or the road has worked around the railway line. Just gives it a bit of a built up feel. So that's all the track work painted in the way I described earlier. Now the rest of the track work has not been done yet. So I've got one bit of flexi track left over a yard length. I'll probably do this end. I've got some offcuts as well. Could probably do this end, but what I need at the moment is the points. At the moment there's 3 points I've got to put in, but wait until payday for them. But I just want to explain the future plan of what I'm thinking, because this bit also doubles up as a bit of a branch line station terminus. So keeping in mind the terriers that are coming out. So a train of a terrier and 2 coaches come down here on this bit along this line, and then it'll go on where all that mess is currently. It'll go on to there, but there'll be a run round loop and a station, and this station, depending on how early the track needs to start rising up, the branch line station may share a platform with the main running lines. So it's almost like main running line there, and then the passenger terminus line going there. And I'm also thinking about having the engine shed over that side as well when I start working on that side. But actually it's a bit of a mess at the moment. So right, back to this bit. Now I'm gonna do some train testing on this track, and before I do, I just want to remind people to like and subscribe if they haven't already. And I'd also like to say thank you to the subscribers who have subscribed. I've got 14 subscribers at the moment, and I've got 3 over the weekend. So thank you to you guys, and welcome aboard to the layout. Hope you enjoy my videos. So without further ado, now I'm going to test some trains. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do a run up and down here, and then run up the goods line. Right. So away we go. I'm just going to run up the goods line. I'm surprised the A4 runs on this. I mean, sometimes have an issue there, but these curves are quite tight, so I'm surprised the A4 runs on this bit. I was planning on just really little 060s or diesel locos where the wheels articulate. I was planning on them sort of trains on this track, but this A4 seems to work quite well in the right direction. Bear with me, folks. I don't have any track the other side of that. See, it came off a bit there on that bit there. It was the front pony truck, but I always knew that might be a bit of a problem for the big Pacifics. There we go. Okay. just gonna set the A4 to the other track. The A4 is now on the other track now, and it's set to go along this crossover there. So let's see how it does. So far so good. Yeah, it's very good. Okay, it's very good. Right, now I'm just gonna try and set the camera so there's more of a view that way, so bear with me for a minute, guys. Okay, right, I've set the camera to try and get a closer view, so let's see how we go. That runs pretty nice on that bit. Okay, let's get it set on the other track, and then we'll go up the goods line at this level. Right, so we're now set on the other track again, just getting in position when it's not coming off. I think I have a look at that, it's not liking that point. Right, so I'll flick the points. Oh, that's why I weren't liking it. So I hadn't switched this point. So that's my mistake on that one, not the loco. Right, so we're just gonna go up the goods line. Now what I do, I put the bridge on top for this one, so we've got the full effect. See, none of the static grass or anything I've put down is affecting it at all. Yeah, it's not liking that point. Okay. Wrong way. Right. Okay, that's about it for the running session. Well, that about wraps up this update video for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed the update. Hopefully in next month's update I'll have a bit more of the embankment built and maybe this bit here. I know for definite I'll have the rest of this track work made up. Yeah, that's my big plan for that bit. In regards to this blowover, is still going to be a long time in the running for this bit. You know, I've still got to get like another sheet of 9mm ply to go there, and then it's working out the the maths of where it's going, how it's going from there to there. I'll probably use the Woodland Scenics risers. If I use the 2%, then I'll use the 2% because a lot of the downgrade is going to be on show. But I'm going to use DCC power base to help trains go up the hill. But the way I've worked it is so that the trains will be climbing on the outside rather than the inside, so they're going down on the inside and then up on the outside. And the reason why I've done it that way is because the incline is less on the outside than it is on the inside, so it makes life a lot easier for the trains getting getting up and down. In the rest of the layout, you know, it's a little bit of a mess at the moment, you know, because of like moving stuff about. As you can, as you see, there's a little bit of a mess at the moment while I'm building this bit. The other thing I've forgot to mention is the bit in the corner that may have to change as well because of the way the baseboards are arranged now. For example, the river that's there is going to have to change. That, you know, the river can't be there no more because of the new height is going to be too close. So I'll probably end up changing that whole deck probably to match up with this one, which I didn't really want to do. It's a bit of a waste really, but it's just in order for the layout to work and be functional. You know, when it comes to the gradients, I mean, getting trains to run on a gradient is all very new to me, so I'm just basically watching videos and studying, you know, about how it's done. So I just want to really reduce the amount of height that it takes for, you know, the amount of gradient the train has to travel. So basically this track will go underneath the baseboard. I'll cut a hole in the frame and then we'll just go under the back and temporarily return loop round and then return back, and then at a later date I'll sort out what I'm going to do at the bottom. But that's about it for today's update. You know, we'll just wrap up the video here. And again, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll do a bit more on the next update. Again, another quick reminder, if you haven't subscribed already, if you could subscribe, you know, it will help to support the channel. If you could hit the like button as well, it would be much appreciated. Till next time, take care. Thank you for watching, and bye bye.